Could we have imagined this 10 years ago?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Great way of bringing people together, isn't it?
It's amazing. And Flo and I had enormous ideas for this year, didn't we? We were going to have a, in-person rave conference with music, and we've ended up here today. It's exactly 10 years since our first workshop at Kingston, so very special day. So welcome to the session. We've got Florence here. Can you see Florence and myself? We are the co-founders of MatExp 10 years ago. And we've got a song, I think, Colin, haven't we, to start us off?
We have indeed.
And you can join in the song if you want to. Quite catchy.
Is this the dancing part?
No, not yet. Tells the story a little bit.
We're holding this celebration today to mark 10 years of MatExp. It was exactly 10 years ago that we put Who's Shoes to the test. It had made a difference in lots of topics, including dementia care. But would it work in maternity? The golden question was there. Our first workshop was at Kingston, and some of you were there. And that MatExp became a great platform to connect people who care. It was not so easy 10 years ago. Some live far and some live near. Now Zoom brings us all together. It's so lovely to see you here. We hope you have a wonderful time and connect with old friends and new. Love and lemons will come alive. Let's see what we can do. The MatExp banner will fly high as we share stories and cascade. The connections we formed, the actions we've taken, and the difference it has all made. MatExp have flown by, and it's time to celebrate. 17th October, exactly 10 years. Thanks for joining us on this date. The MatExp banner will fly high as we share stories and cascade. The connections we've formed, the actions we've taken, and the difference it has all made. 10 years of MatExp have flown by, and it's time to celebrate. 17th October, exactly 10 years. Thanks for joining us on this date. Ooh,
Okay, so we've had some amazing supporters over the years. One of them, I'm very thrilled to say, has been Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent, who was the Chief Midwife for England and is now in this role internationally, Chief Midwife for the International Confederation of Midwives. Here she is with Stowaway Teddy back in 2016 at NHS Expo.
10 amazing years of the Who's Shoes campaign. Congratulations, Jill and Flo, and all those behind the scenes for supporting you. The success of the campaign is a testimony to your strength of leadership, resilience, perseverance, stamina, and determination to succeed. I'm sure that mums and babies and their families have had an enriched experience because of the work that you have done with midwives, obstetricians, and the wider maternity team. Congratulations and happy birthday.
How lovely was that? So how did it all start, Flo? Should we tell them in this little clip? Oh, I wonder who that is. I'll just answer. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello, my name's Florence. I'm an obstetrician at Kingston Hospital, And I've been seeing all sorts of dementia workshops in Kent on Twitter. And I'm part of the London Clinical Network looking at maternity experience. Do you think hooshoes would work in maternity care?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Kath Evans asked me that a while ago, and the rest, as they say, is history. Oh, deliberate mistake. So can we try our first, is it a slider or a menti? It doesn't matter.
It's a menti, yes. So some people will have used menti before and some won't have done, but if you point your phone at the QR code, it should take you to a screen where you can actually put, I think it's up to 3 words or short phrases in that will hopefully add to a word cloud.
Why did you come to this event? We've got all sorts of people here. Whoa.
How do we type into it, Colin?
If you've got a phone,
Oh, the QR.
I've also
Sorry.
put the link in the chat. If you prefer
Yeah.
to do it on your keyboard, on your PC, I've put the link in the chat. That will take you to the same place.
Oh, thanks, Lucy.
And
I was just
anyone
looking
who
to do that.
doesn't want to or can't do this stuff, just put your answers in the chat, and it's all just part of the same thing. But it's quite fun to see them coming through.
Yeah, yeah.
So lots about connections and celebration, celebrating success, collegiality. Wow. Fun and excitement, reflection, to see everyone. I love that, just to see everybody. Isn't it lovely just to see everybody? So hi to Anne and Sarah and people that we haven't said hello to. Mary Salama, yay! So lovely to see. I mean, Mary is a clinician in Birmingham with really important things that you've just popped in for a minute, Mary. So Mary Newburn as well. We've got various Marys and Emmas and Emma Janes and Sarahs. Give us a wave. So, okay, on we go. What's next? So, okay, so where are you in the Matex Hooshoes awareness scale 1 to 5? Never heard of it? You're a Hooshoes addict? Some of this won't apply to everybody, but choose a number and we'll see who we've got in the room.
And that link is also in the chat if you prefer to do it that way.
So, whoa, 100% of people have attended or run a Hooshoes workshop.
Got the Hooshoes addict.
We've got the Hooshoes addict. Hello, Anne Remmers. I wanted to include the clip of your intergalactic superpowers, but I just... So, okay, so it's 60% of people have run a workshop and 50-50 now. We've got Hooshoes junkies. We've got people who've come to a workshop. There must be somebody who's never heard of it. How about you, James? Hi. You've missed our song. Okay, so
This is good. This is looking good.
So yeah, most people we've got our gang here today, but I don't want it at all to be cliquey. It's all about bringing new people in. So if we've got some never heard of people, that's great too. So okay, on we go, Colin. Thank you for that. Our slider. So on the pens today we have Anna. Welcome, Anna.
Hi there, nice to see you, everyone. I'm looking forward to capturing today.
And we've got Anna and we've got Carrie Lewis here as well, have been amazing graphic artists over 10 years and indeed quite a lot more like 20. Oh, what are you up to, Anna?
Ready? Are you ready, Jill?
Yep.
Okay. 10 years of Matex! Yay!
Very good.
We'll be able to send that to Flo and she'll...
So that was St Heliers, wasn't it, where Flo was absent, and there might be one later at St George's where I was absent, because we get a bit of FOMO on Matex if we miss out on things. So a very special shout out to Anna's mum, who's here today quietly. But Anna's mum's a superstar who I remember themed the post-its brilliantly and indeed judged the cakes up in Dundee. So hi, Margaret. So, okay, we'll tell the story. We're trying to fit in. What is it we're fitting in, Flo?
10 years in an hour.
In an hour, okay. So we did you've heard the phone call. It all kicked off in 2014, and we did our original maternity experience project with 100 Who Shoes scenarios and 14 poems, all talking about maternity experience. It morphed into Nobody's Patient. Do you want to say just a few words about that, Flo? And Catherine's on the call as well.
So that was, they stole our name and put a MatX challenge fund out from NHS England of money. And so we thought it'd be rude not to apply for it. And we did a project, Nobody's Patient, which was about women falling through gaps in care. So inspired by the stories of Catherine, who's on the call, Catherine from the Veloma Foundation, talking about mid-trimester loss and falling between gynae and maternity, and Lee Kendall, who fell between postnatal and neonatal, as well as between intensive care and neonatal and maternity. So women that had unexpected complications in pregnancy, who did they belong to, as it were. And the title of the project came from a tweet that a woman sent saying she felt like she was nobody's patient, wandering between the postnatal ward and the neonatal unit.
Thanks, Flo. So it led to great things, really. And I think of all things, this is something I've been most pleased by over the whole 10 years. The Nobody's Patient between maternity and neonatal. So much work has happened by so many people to join up, the Mat Neo quality improvement. But we were delighted that they used our resources at the launch of the Mat Neo event in Westminster. So it's the only time we've ever had Whose Shoes bunting looking out onto the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Abbey. And as you can see, Jackie Dunkley-Bent, who we met at the beginning, has been there. This was 7 years ago, supporting us all the way. And Flo, of course, dipping into her bag to find some more lemons.
And importantly, it was Shrove Tuesday.
It was. That's right. I've forgotten that. So mind and body, perinatal mental health clearly was running through everything we were doing. And thanks to Louise Page in particular, who gets a mention there, who is in Australia at the moment, so can't join us, we managed to do a more bespoke project. So another Whose Shoes project, another 100 scenarios, another 14 poems. And all of these resources have been used very powerfully over the years. So shout out to Carrie, because during the pandemic, I was going to take a break, but other people had different ideas. And we did some really special sessions during the pandemic. And sees Carrie smiling, and like really special memories, and a great way of bringing people together through some really intensive work that we did during that time. So Whose Shoes is always real viewpoints from real people. So that's how we crowdsource all the different material that we use. And as you can probably tell, it's been quite a story, and we're sort of going through it at a bit breakneck speed today. So within maternity, just within maternity, really, it's spun off into all sorts of different related topics. Lewisham and Greenwich have definitely led the way with 20 Whose Shoes workshops, and they've pushed me hardest in terms of new topics: gestational diabetes, smoking cessation, better communication around Down syndrome. Sessions with student midwives and nurses have all come from Lewisham and Greenwich. We've gone into more and more sensitive areas. It's been very emotional, it's been very special. But the one I was going to pick out on really was the work we've done more recently around health inequalities, and obviously the very sensitive topic of women from Black and ethnic minority communities needing to have a better deal in maternity services and indeed healthcare. So just a few quick slides. This is from 2000 22, I think. Yeah, there's a tweet there. Rosie Murphy, who I'd love to be on this call today, she's amazing, led a workshop in Croydon where we started to explore this topic, building on the existing herd campaign in Croydon. Nottingham just last year, one of the most amazing workshops we've done, 70 people crammed into an art gallery, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
sure.
just the most amazing conversations. And Carrie at the time was giving amazing feedback live that people really, really related to. So difficult topics, but really great feedback. Birmingham, I think it was January this year, again, using some of this new material. And back to Kingston, Flo, very recently.
For Southwest London, and we held a workshop at Kingston, and we ended up with a really detailed conversation about how to cook your rice and how you cook your rice depending on what country you come from, or Ghana and Nigeria, you cook your rice very differently, and all sorts of different conversations about the very simple things in life that your background alter or adjust.
Yeah, classic, isn't it? The simple things are so often the things that really make people stop and think, and the lemon light bulb moments. I don't think we've even got lemon light bulb moments in
I
the.
don't think we have. Just
On we go then. So, Flo, that particular podcast is very relevant to that theme, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it's okay to ask some fantastic films made by Terry Gavin Jones and I want to say East of England. And she's done a lot of work and has a grandmother's group. And this series of films are little films about different ethnic backgrounds that you can listen to, that she's made with those communities to help people understand, and talking about not cultural competency, but cultural curiosity. So the idea that you could be competent in someone else's culture or understanding their culture is somewhat idiotic, but being curious and asking questions and feeling it's okay to ask questions is a really important message, and it's a great resource.
And so is Flo's podcast. So I'm sure a lot of you know about the Obs Pod, but that's a little plug for Flo's podcast as well, which is again one of the creative things that's come from this slightly more creative approach to maternity improvement.
Yes, and the most recent episode actually is with Catherine, who's also on the call.
Brilliant. And very topical because it was Baby Loss Awareness Week, and then your podcast is around that, obviously very important, sensitive topic. And my podcast, it's not specifically maternity related at all, but I've had some really great episodes talking to some of you. Mary's on the call, various people that have been podcast guests. Leanne, I think, is joining, and Rachel Cullum, I hope, is going to be here today. So they're on the screen. So it's been amazing, really. I think Who Shoes is now being used in maternity in about 100 different NHS trusts. It's all been like one by one rather than top down, because we don't do top down stuff. The very best example was a group of women in Manchester going to the CCG and demanding a Who Shoes workshop. We're coming up to one in Ireland shortly, aren't we? So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So what one word best describes Matex for you? So time for you to do some work again. You remember what to do with the QR code? See if we can get a bit of a word cloud going.
I'm loving the Mavericks that's just popped up.
Was that you, Flo? No.
No, someone else.
I can see Anne looking cheeky. Not guilty. There have been some Mavericks, I think, going around and stickering people at NHS Expo in 2016 was right up there, and doing virtual fake news with Simon Stephen having a Matex sticker and that kind of thing was quite fun at the time. Okay, well, we can keep adding to that, but we can move on. It's fun to see that coming through live. So some big stories. So we've picked out some highlights. The most demanding one. What was that? What do you think it was? It was Matex the musical comes to NHS Expo on the main stage. This was my planning board, trying to match Who Shoes scenarios and poems to what was happening on the stage, to what Anna was recording with the live graphic, to what people reading poems from the audience. NHS England didn't know what hit them really. So I'll tell the story with a little film. Have practice in the morning. Look a bit cheeky.
Understand the things you say, make a difference every day. When our work is truly done, let's a burst for everyone.
Separate me from mother, my first embrace should be no other. So here's my rap set from me to you. I exploit it chest from a baby's point of view. I like to be in skin to skin. It's bang on trend and totally in. Skin to skin just calms me down. It prevents me from wearing a frown. It keeps me warm, my blood sugar stable. I'm telling you, it ain't no favour soul.
So we had 35 people, all authentically in their own roles, obstetricians, midwives, parents, bereaved parents. It was incredibly powerful. A GP, a student midwife, a baroness. Did you spot the baroness? We've been told not to go up on the main stage, so one or two people were keener than others, but luckily I got people to lead from the front who were kind of a bit forgetful about where we were meant to stand, and it did make a bit more impact, really, didn't it? So it was quite a story. And Sarah Jane Marsh, I absolutely must give a shout out to, because she held steady and saw us through. It was really very special, and some of you were actually there on the stage with us, so thank you. So the most courageous, Flo, what's the most courageous story? I chose this one.
So you chose lithotomy challenge.
I did.
Imagine lying like this, unable to move your legs, surrounded by strangers. Naked. How would it feel? This is a lithotomy position, and this is how more than a quarter of the women in the country give birth. My name's Florence. I'm an obstetrician, a doctor that specialises in pregnancy and birth. This is a normal occurrence for me to see a woman in stirrups like this.
So how did it all start? It started because of NHS Change Day, which was the idea of people taking grassroots action and doing something to promote change. And a paediatrician had been strapped to a spinal board and carried around his hospital to see what that felt like. And I thought, well, I don't know what lithotomy feels like. I know what it's like to go to theatre and have an emergency cesarean, but I don't know what lithotomy feels like. So I will do lithotomy challenge and hopefully people will follow suit. And I did it for an hour because I thought that would mimic roughly second stage and maybe some stitching afterwards. I hadn't counted on Helen Bevan and a film crew turning up. And a couple of days before, having said I was going to do this, Jim Thornton actually jumped the gun and went for it first. And it sparked off all sorts of people up and down the country undertaking lithotomy challenge, and is still going actually. So these photos are from when I did the original challenge, but equally I know people are still doing the challenge, perhaps as part of Perinatal Mental Health Awareness Week. One team did it last year. I did it myself in our perineal health conference in May at Kingston. So we're still doing it all the time. I know lots of units have done it, and lots of units have done reflective boards by staff of what words it makes them think of, things like vulnerable, exposed, and it really makes you think, if you can't avoid lithotomy, how to keep some modesty, keep it to a minimum amount of time, and can you avoid lithotomy in the first place? You know, there's a difference between using lithotomy when you need to assist with a birth and women having a spontaneous vaginal birth in lithotomy without any intervention. That just shouldn't be happening. And sadly, it's still true that around a quarter of UK women having a vaginal birth give birth in lithotomy. So there's still a lot of work to do.
Thanks, Flo. And this came just yesterday, so we've been trying to sort of adapt as we go, but finish this little section with Deepa, who I'm not sure if she's on the call. She might be. Thank you, Deepa, has sent out one of our first crowdsourced videos that we're going to be collecting after the session. So our JFDI badge. You got one of those, Colin?
Yeah.
Which is one of many, many, many stories that underpin all these different big stories, if you like. So on to the next one. The biggest impact. I've included a couple of video clips which I think will tell the story better than I can. But it's the new surgical neonatal intensive care unit in Liverpool. I don't think it gets bigger than that in terms of an impact. And I'm just thrilled to bits that it's going to open shortly. And I'm hoping to go and visit it with Jo Minford, the fabulous paediatric surgeon that we've worked with there. So how did it all start? Helen Calvert, I've got to give a shout out for Helen. She was one of our absolutely top mum movers and shakers at the beginning and throughout the early years of the campaign, really. And Helen inspired this poem. She had a son, David, who had heart surgery at Alderhay Hospital, and she lived in Manchester, and she wrote this poem, Theoretical Mummy, but it was one of the instrumental things it really sparked the work. She brought me to Liverpool, brought me together with Jo Minford, the surgeon. And this is what happened as a result of it. In Whose Shoes we use a lot of poems.
Theoretical Mummy. 6 days old, so fragile, so new. He'd been in intensive care, now moved to HDU. I wasn't too sure what I was meant to do. Still wired up, a drain in his tummy. I felt like a kind of theoretical mummy. "Okay, come on, Mum, you change his nappy." The voice was abrupt, verging on snappy. "You're going to have to learn how to do this, you know." At best, robustly encouraging. She was clearly the boss. Years of experience under her belt. Or she didn't give a toss. Not a clue how I felt. I felt she wanted to kick my backside. I felt sick. I just wanted to hide. I turned around and walked off the ward. Did nobody see I was anxious or frightened? I started to feel guilty for behaving so badly, and no one suggested I shouldn't feel that way.
So we had a series of Who Shoes workshops with Helen and with Joe Minford, the consultant surgeon, and I managed to get Joe together with Mary Salama, who's on the call. Absolutely brilliant. This is my intentional coffee on the CoLab conference. The two of them had never met or even emailed each other. And you know how I just love to bring certain people together. This is part of what they said.
When we started thinking about what our particular issues in Liverpool were, and needing to get people together to really get good, I hate the word engagement, but good involvement across the city and of all the right people. It seemed to me that this is, you know, Whose Shoes was going to kick us off in the right way, let's face it. So we have in Liverpool, we have a women's hospital, which is 3 miles away from our children's hospital. It's crazy, but that's the way it is. It's not going to change anytime in the next 30, 40, 50 years. And we just have to cope with it. But it gives us some really important challenges, both in experience. You know, you can imagine being a mum and your baby having a surgical problem and having to be transferred and you can't go, and maybe you've had a section. You can imagine being the dad, driving up and down the road, which is Edge Lane. Do I go and see the mum? Do I go and see the baby? Mum's going, go and see the baby. I need to know what's happening with the baby. Dad's going, yeah, but I want to be with you because you're not very well. And oh, awful, awful. And then some of the premature babies that we have looked after at the neonatal unit at Liverpool Women's need surgery too, but then we don't have, we have a PICU, but it's not a neonatal environment as such. And those babies shuttling up and down this busy road in Liverpool, 3 miles, coming and going when they needed surgery, just 100 million opportunities to make mistakes, get things wrong, mess the communication up, traumatise parents. Oh, I could go on forever. So we started working with Liverpool Women's, as Jill sort of intimated there, to try and make some of these issues better. But also we sort of started working to work out how we were going to achieve the standards and what we were going to do in Liverpool to make a commissionable service, really. And so Whose Shoes for our neonatal service, which is now a neonatal partnership across the 2 sites. So we've still got 2 trusts, and that's not going to change, you know, in the near future. We've got lots of tensions on either side that mean that we can't come together as one organisation. But what we have done is formed a clinically led partnership, which is supported by both our executive teams, to make a service that works over 2 sites, but with 1 team of people, with 1 governance structure, with 1 set of policies and protocols, so that it feels the same whichever site you're on, and that we're working together. And Whose Shoes is sort of, for me, that's formed the bedrock of how we do that. So we've got this wonderful graphic that Jill's shown you, and that for me, and there's one of those up at Alder Hay, and there's one of those down at Liverpool Women's, and they are on display in the wards there. And for me, that's our sense check to keep going back to. You know, so what did people tell us when we did this? What did we say? What did we all say when we did this? Yeah, we said we weren't going to do that, so we're not going to do that. We said that was a problem, that's an issue. Let's, you know, whatever pressures there are, that's not where we're going. This is our true north. And people talk about true north a lot in improvement work. So now, as Jill said, I could talk forever about this, but as Jill said, we've just gone out to tender to build our neonatal unit at Alder Hay. It's challenging, I'm not going to lie to you. Partnership working is really, really challenging, but you get the energy to pursue I was going to say pursue the dream. It sounds a little bit intense, that, doesn't it? But to pursue what you know is right by having this wonderful shared vision that we've got, having fantastic parents who have been with you all the way.
I am going to stop you two nattering.
So that's the nature of Whose Shoes, that people, once they meet, they can't stop talking when you connect the right people. This is what happened. Please note the Whose Shoes style windows. The new NICU will provide the highest level of care for neonates and will be the first of its kind in the country. We're proud of that one. Then people got the chance to go into breakout rooms, to meet friends, old and new, and share their stories. What have been their favourite highlights of the MatExp years? And of course, there were many absent friends. I was particularly disappointed that our friend Jenny the midwife, Jenny Clark, couldn't be there, but here is the doodly that Colin made some years ago for her fabulous Skin to Skin campaign, which has been so influential in ensuring that Skin to Skin is offered to all women, including those who've had a caesarean birth.
Yeah, and then we could pin Anna.
Great idea from Lise. We thought we'd take a look at what Anna was up to with her visual record.
We're just watching your work now, Anna. No pressure.
Is that the house?
It looks amazing, Anna.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, it's lovely.
Oh, you've got the order hay unit. You've got the Whose Shoes window as well. You are such a star. You've got Marge the Stork there, because we've had Sue on the call, haven't we? And Tracy from Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
They're the ones that gave Anna the Stork.
It is amazing, actually, because you forget about all these things, because 10 years is such a long time.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was trying to find my unmute button and I found it now.
And actually, oh my God, there's so much stuff we've done.
It's been
really
crazy
lovely
planning
to
it.
stop
It
and
really has been
reflect on
crazy.
that, actually.
And we had a great long list of things, didn't we? You know, your Flaming June,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, like literally one line, but it was a whole campaign for a month, and the admin
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
None of it gets a mention. It's
2, 1. Right, the rooms are closing. 9, 8, 7. Welcome back. It's lovely to see some smiles, and I'm so curious about those conversations and what they might have enabled. I met Jill in a breakout room, and now we're doing some Whose Shoes work together in children and young people. So you never know what's going to happen in a breakout room on an online call. And Jill, we would love to hear your stories, but we've got like 2 minutes. So in the chat, there's a link to a Padlet. And if you wanted to share any story that really resonated that you think would share with the wider audience, you can do it via that Padlet link. And I'll just show you how that works. So you'll see here what it looks like. And you can create a sticky and you can share your story.
And this is something we can keep adding to after the event, hopefully. So I've managed to add Deepa Santosh's video in the right-hand corner there, but it's quite easy to add photos, videos. You know, it's a tool to play with, but I think it's a great way of collecting stories.
So that link is in the chat, and obviously you can do that now, or you can do that in your own time, or if there's any stories that anyone wants to share in the chat, we can get them on there for you. While you were all doing that, we were having a little look at what Anna was up to and how that is coming on. So here's Anna's visual graphic that's emerging in real time, as it does in those Whose Shoes workshops, in such a great way. But I really hope your random connections sparked at least a lemon light bulb moment, if not a whole new project, as it did when Jill and I find ourselves in a breakout room in a Liberating Strictures event, and the rest of that story is history too. But that'll be 10 years of Who Shoes and Children's Services. So we'll set the date, shall we, for, I know, whatever year that'll be. All right, back over to you then, Jill.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if people don't know, we're doing a really in-depth project around children and families, how things just join up better together, children's mental health, care experience children with special needs. And we've got Yvonne Newbold, who's on the call today, who is the founder of Newbold Hope, helping us, and absolutely core part of that project. And we've got this snowball effect of people joining our core team, and basically the ones who are there stay as we move on to the new topics, and then we bring new people in. So it's very exciting. So watch MPFT Who Shoes. So, okay, a few fun moments recalled. We might have to whiz, I don't know, but let's just go for this. So language. Language has been a big part of Who Shoes. We like to use slightly different tools and make people think. Well, the winner is pathways on this occasion. So within maternity, I think my moment for language was getting the chance to talk to Simon Stevens, then Chief Executive of the NHS. And I was telling him about Matt X and the story, and he was nodding along and smiling. And then I asked him how he would feel, because we've got a big thing about failure in maternity. You seem to failed induction and failed this and failed that, and incompetent cervix, all this kind of stuff. So I said, how would he feel if he was told that he'd failed to dilate? And it was all on camera at Skipton House. And of course, none of this footage, like Matex the musical, none of it ever gets shared any further. And I can see Emma Jane laughing, and you did your fantastic. So it's the fun side and it's the serious side. So Emma Jane's heart graphics were amazing, and capturing some of those phrases in that really very powerful graphic. So competition time. So as part of Nobody's Patient, we got the chance to have a competition to get a trust to have a Who Shoes workshop. And this amazing midwife called Sally Goodwin, who I was hoping to be on the call today, sent us a limerick. And it was from Sherwood Forest Hospital. And this is how we announced the competition winners.
Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good. Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood. He called the greatest archers to a tavern on the green. They vowed to help the people of the king. They handled all the trouble on the English country scene, and still found plenty of time to sing. Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good. Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood.
Keep calm and JFDI. That's been our motto. So over to you, Flo. Why have we chosen this one?
So we were running a Who Shoes workshop in Brighton, and it was held on International Women's Day. And on Twitter, I saw Nisha, who's on the call, who's in Australia, who I worked with many, many years ago. She's a wonderful obstetrician who now works in Australia, but had worked with me at Kingston. She was doing a dance challenge for International Women's Day. And as a result, I mentioned this to Jill, and we decided to incorporate a bit of dancing into the workshop. And it was led by one of the dads who came to the event. It was completely spontaneous, unrehearsed. And there's a little clip of it in this video.
Other babies are choosing to be dead.
And that's where the teamwork comes in.
Speak up when I think positive change can be made.
So perhaps skip over this one.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
for the time, yeah. So I think this is the call to action. That Slido that we've just skipped over was, what do you see as the common themes here? And I think, you know, hopefully it will be creativity and just doing things a bit differently. So we're throwing the challenge back to you, and we're asking if some of you, and we're going to ask other people who have left or, you know, weren't able to join the call. Basically, we've got a chance, I think, to showcase at this point what MatX has enabled over the last 10 years, because it's really hard to collect evidence. And we've got, we'll share the link as well. We've got an NHS Fab Stuff collection. So Terry Porritt and the team there have been really supportive of us. Basically, if we collect stuff, they'll put it up on Fab NHS stuff. So I think if we do it via our sandbox, Padlet, whatever they call it these days, and people can add there. And we've also got a memento. We're finding all these different resources, but people are managing to, we've had several now, haven't we?
Yeah.
That it seems a really easy way that, you know, we don't want to make work for people. If you make a little selfie video or just something really simple on a phone and send it to the memento email link, we get them. And, you know, I think it's typical kind of MatX style. We don't know what we're going to get or how many, but depending on you know, the content, we can sort of see what we can do with it to try and showcase some of the work that you've all been such an amazing part of over the years. So that's Fab NHS stuff. That's one of the stories that's on our collection. So bringing together some of the early work we did around Black and ethnic minority communities in Nottingham. Nottingham have been amazing to work with. They've worked closely with the local university, Nottingham University research team. So they've actually written up the results in a way that, you know, is very difficult to do normally. It's been really hard for us to kind of collect evidence over the years because we're busy doing the next thing. And similarly, Lise with our children's project is using Sway newsletters as a fantastic way of collecting what we're doing going along. And if people ask, you just have a link to share with. So the more stuff we can do like that for maternity, the better. So what word describes how you feel after today? I mean, it's not after today because it's still only lunchtime, but after our session today, that perhaps should say. Should we have a re-energizing, see if we can get one of those word clouds going? That's really nice already. I mean, I think that Flo and I sort of talked about it. What was realistic to do? You know, just get a few mates together from the early days or try and have a bigger session. And we just thought if it's something that energizes and reconnects people, whoever came along, that would be fab. Would you say, Flo?
Totally agree. I mean, we wanted to celebrate and look back, but also, as with everything we do, well, what's next, you know? But sometimes it's lovely just to take stock a little bit and think, wow, what have we done? And it's so lovely to see so many people that we've worked with over the years give up their time and come and join us. And none of this could be done without this wonderful community. So yeah, it's really special.
Is there anyone who hasn't spoken? It's so difficult, isn't it, a Zoom session, people that I'm so keen to reconnect with. And we've got Emma, Jane and Catherine who've been with us from the beginning. Do you want to unmute and just say a few words? It'd be really nice to hear from you.
I think sort of for me that seeing how things have moved forward over the years, and a large part of that has been down to the actions of people from MatExp, and that sort of energy that it's created to make positive change. So I think they've been the highlights for me.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine, and lovely to hear you.
Yeah, it's been really moving actually. And I was actually sitting last night thinking about all the memories and all the things that, you know, was achieved and will continue to be achieved. And I think it's just, for me, I can't think of any other co-production event that I've ever been to that has been so wonderful as the Who Shoes and the MatEx events. And I think the power that it has to draw people together, to open them up to hearing, especially what, you know, families say, and then make a real change happen from that is just beyond words. It's so powerful. And I think, you know, to see that continually changing and evolving is just wonderful and inspiring. So yeah, here's to another 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Really given me goosebumps there,
Yeah.
Emma. That was so special. Thank
Makes
you.
it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Because it is a lot of work
totally
that people
does.
don't see. Yeah, it has me. I mean, it's hard to know how to respond to that. I mean, I think, you know, my main thought is that it sounds like a cliche, but it is only thanks to all the people who've taken part and all the kind of small campaigns. And obviously, you look around the screen even, and you see people who are dedicated to different topics. And for those people to kind of come to the fore and perhaps just feel a bit more inspired, a bit bolder. I think that's a word that perhaps should be there. That, you know, I've seen people, I mean, Flo, with your creativity, you've become quite a creative fabobs, haven't you, over the years?
I have. You've totally unleashed all sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about obviously technologies come on, but you know, Jill egged me on to write a blog. Then next it was Advent video stories. Now a podcast. Now Jill's dabbling in AI, and I feel like she's always a step ahead of me. Apart from the podcast, I started that first. but yeah, I mean, I had no idea that I could do all these creative things alongside my job and incorporate them into my job, and it definitely makes life a lot more interesting.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And I can see Lee smiling because she's always one step ahead of us. And it's been, you know, like a lovely mutual. I mean, we've obviously dabbled in Sandbox just before you've got there, Lise. You know, it's really nice to have people to sort of spin ideas with, and liberating structures. Lise said that's how we met, you know, through creative approaches, and we've brought some liberating structures into some of our Who Shoes workshops. So you can always kind of look to find more ways to keep things alive, I think, and a bit of fun. So, okay.
Hi, Leanne. I can see Leanne's just appeared.
Oh, hi, Leanne.
Welcome.
Hello, you're right. Sorry, I'm a bit late. I got caught up.
Fine. It's lovely to have you join us.
Lovely to see you. Say a couple of words, Leanne, because we've just had Emma, Jane and Catherine, you know, like from the mums that I work closely with, talking about Who Shoes and just the whole MatEx campaign, what it's meant to you. But we've got a very tight schedule, so no ramp.
Okay. Okay. Oh God, where'd to start?
Yeah, I don't mean to put you
I
under
suppose I
pressure.
just find it. No, that's all right. I suppose for me, I just find it so inspirational because I mean, so when I first went to my first Who Shoes workshop, well, that was probably about 8 years ago, wasn't it? I think I had a baby and was sort of invited along. Didn't really know what it was or what to expect, but it just sort of really opened my eyes, I suppose, to co-production and what it can look like when it's done in a really healthy and proactive way. And yeah, and I think I've never, like, since then, like having been on so many training courses and various conferences and things, like you just never quite see the vibe and the atmosphere in the room as you do at Who Shoes. I feel like everyone's so inspired to make change, everyone's so excited, and everyone has all these great ideas and they actually feel they can make it happen. I just feel like you don't get that in many, like, you know, that takes a special kind of something, doesn't it, to achieve that.
Thanks, Leanne. And we have
Big
had,
fan.
immediately I can think of moments that have come from your workshops, you know, just incredible conversations whereby somebody really gets something in a different way. So the lemon light bulb moment. So, I mean, again, you know, if we can capture some of those, but I think just the way we do things is just a bit, you know, it happens, and people who see what happens hopefully take those ripples on without us necessarily being able to or even needing to record it in a formal way. I mean, I know I think with the Nobody's Patient, I was presented with an NHS spreadsheet and had to fill in what the outcomes were or something, and we had somebody coming along, like really incredibly powerful event at St George's with Lee Kendall as a brave mother talking. And I was asked afterwards, well, what difference does it make? And I think, well, if you've been there and haven't felt that, then you're not the person that I'm probably going to be trying to influence. You know, just get it by a bit of human connection. So, yeah. So, okay, well, lovely to see you, Leanne. It's never late. It's always perfect. So, okay, so there's only a little group of us now, but we could do a Mexican wave. What do you think? Because we've been sitting for a long time. Should we join in with Anna? So this is Anna too. Bonkers. But that was when I wasn't there, wasn't it? That was the one I missed.
George's.
That was St
me
George's.
and Anna. Yeah.
So that was you sending a message to me, because we get FOMO, me and Flo, if we miss things. Well, really a conclusion, I think, pass over to Flo, and we've also got our lovely friend Yvonne Newbold here, who is the founder of Newbold Hope. And I think that word hope is just so special. So Flo, what are we doing here?
So I wanted to acknowledge that it's actually a really difficult time in maternity services in the UK at the moment. We're inundated with reports about how dreadful it is. There's countless maternity scandals and calls for national inquiry and all this stuff in the media about, you know, really damning about how maternity services are. And I think, and most recently there was that CQC report, and I think it's a really difficult time, because it's a really difficult time for us to work in the service, but it's also a really difficult time for women. If you're pregnant, you know, you must be absolutely petrified. And so I didn't want to celebrate 10 years and think, you know, job done. Job is far from done. And all the reports, every single one, talks about women not being listened to, women not being believed, families almost being gaslit. And I think, therefore, the kind of core theme and underpinning of all the work we do about actually treating people like human beings and talking to one another and communicating properly and using the right language and that caring is still fundamental to the work that we need to do. So I wanted to not drag everybody down, which is why we thought about inviting Yvonne, who's, as Jill said, is founder of a fantastic organisation called Newbold Hope, because when you're at rock bottom, the only way is up, and it's kind of hope for the future, isn't it? So I wanted people to think, okay, we're in a tough spot. This is what we've achieved in 10 years. What might the next 10 years look like? Or what is your individual hope for maternity services moving forward in the future? So a minute or two to kind of reflect and think, what is your hope? And then that's whether anyone wants to share it in the chat in the sandbox or say anything. I don't know, Yvonne, if you want to say anything about hope in general, and your work.
I'm happy to, yes, but I'm very aware that Jill is under a huge time constraint, so I'll try and speed talk and be as quick as I can. Flo,
Brilliant.
it's absolutely lovely to see you. Your ears must have been burning during my breakout because we were just singing your praises and your incredible courage at the start of your TED Talk, which is just amazing. The thing is, today has touched on, particularly what you've just said, has touched on a lot of themes that are much wider than simply maternity throughout the NHS. People not being heard, not believed, not being listened to. But what today has really given me a lot of encouragement about is I've been sitting in meetings as the so-called sort of family representative and various things for 30 years, meetings at local authority, central government and sort of NHS levels, strategy and policy stuff. And basically, you say the same things again and again and again, and people say they'll hear, and nothing has really changed until probably the last 10 years. We are seeing, as family representatives, huge strides forward where people are actually, we're not tokens anymore. We're actually helping to change policy and people are listening properly. And I think a large part of that is the influence that Jill and Colin and people like you have put into the Who Shoes model. It's got people talking. It's a ripple effect, but it's, I think, having a much wider effect. So I'm incredibly hopeful for the future. Things will get better if we just listen to people. And I love the fact earlier you used the word curiosity, because if you stay curious, it means you ask those why questions and you never, ever, ever can become judgmental when you're curious. So thank you, Flo. Huge thanks, Jill. Huge thanks, Colin. I love you guys. Thank you.
That's really nice. Well, thank you. And I see some lovely messages coming through in the chat. And we're obviously coming towards the end and people, 2 o'clock meetings and goodness knows what. I think, so Joe Minford has joined us. So say hi, Joe, because we've been listening to you talking to Mary Salama on that collab conference. I played a clip. So please just say hi, because I know you can only drop in.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry that I've missed the rest of this event, and it's it's lovely to see everybody. I'm a little bit made up, actually. It's so nice to see everybody, even though they're on screens. It's just lovely to see people's faces. I really wanted to just drop in and say, Jill knows, and some of you will know, that we've used Who Shoes in the design of a brand new neonatal unit in Liverpool. And I've gone a bit quiet, I've gone a bit dark, Jill, because it was touch and go for a moment. It was touch and go for a few moments, but we are out of the ground now and we have a steel structure up.
Oh,
and so we have used Who Shoes to really embed all those principles that Yvonne's just been talking about so eloquently, really embodying those in a build so that we're no longer talking about family integrated care and how we work together and partner with people to change the face of healthcare. We are now making it a sort of physical reality as well as just something that we try and embed in our daily practice. So I wanted you to know we've almost got a roof. We've got some staircases.
Wow, I'm so delighted. And this genuinely, Joe, wasn't something that people kind of used co-production to try and achieve. It came through the co-production that all the conversations were like, but the hospital's there, Liverpool Women's Hospital, Alder Hayes over there. That just got in the way of all the things that people wanted. And we had this wish list that Carrie, who's still on the call, came up with for you. And a series of workshops, wasn't it? Working towards what turned into a business case.
Absolutely. And we still have those beautiful graphics on the units on both sides that we walk past, we refer to them, our visitors go, oh, I like that. And I say, oh, yes, because this is this, and this is how we did it. And this is a really good way of doing it. So it's like live and kicking. Even though, I mean, it feels like a long time, Jill, since we started.
Well, I hope one day to come up and come and see you and come and see it, because it would be so emotional and so amazing.
And there is obviously an open invitation, and our handover day is October 2025. So it almost feels within touching now.
Our 11 years of Matex.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jo.
you.
So we've got, I don't know whether you've seen yet, Jo, but we've got Anna has been recording our session live. So we're going to hand over to Anna to have quite a few minutes. Anna, you've got a
Oh, right, okay.
My darling.
Thank you very much. So I've been listening. I've been trying to capture the story of the last 10 years, and I've got various things put in. There's still some work to be done, but what strikes me is just how much has been happening over the last 10 years. I'm just going to quickly whiz you around so that I can change the direction of the camera. Here we go. And then I can bring you in and you can have a look. You'll see that there's Marge here, has come to assist, who I collected in Lincolnshire, and she comes round on her travels with me, and she has all of the badges on there. So this is, yes, trying to capture some of the stuff that's been happening, recognising that times are challenging. I've tried to pull out the words that people have used that are the things that make this different, I guess. So listening to women, the creativity, it's lovely to see you, that welcoming kind of community that we have, the bravery that's needed, that the work feels really inspiring, that people feel that they're making a difference, that some of the things that you've been doing is around challenging the language that's there, developing cultural curiosity. It's been exciting. It's been co-production at its best. It's the power to draw people together. And there's hope for the future. Begin to see differences, and things that you're doing are making a difference to people. And it's really important that that continues. So I've got in here the most demanding part of Matex, which was the NHS Expo. I'm going to get a stage in there. The most courageous being, I think I've misspelt courageous. I've just noticed. I have, definitely, but that's okay. I can sort that out. The most courageous being the lithotomy challenge, and the biggest impact, Jo, just as you were mentioning, and Jill's very pleased to see that I've got in the Whose Shoes coloured windows at Alderhay for the neonatal unit. And it all started on the 17th of October with a phone call between Flo and Jill. Does that sound okay? Is that
wow,
a fair summary?
That's fantastic.
It's very emotional, Anna, and you've
good.
Harry, at nearly every workshop we've had one or two other graphic artists. We've had obviously different events without a graphic artist, but the number of I call them Anna's banners because it rhymes better than Carrie. You have to think of an equivalent Carrie. Just the number that we've had over the years, and seeing them displayed in all sorts of different places, and obviously the small images on social media, and it's just been so powerful. Whose Shoes could not possibly have been the same without you, and to just drop everything and come and record and talk to us today, Anna, really, really special. Thank you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And it's been incredible, hasn't it, really, the number of workshops. I think, I've spent my time travelling up and down the country, as has Carrie, listening to some incredibly impactful and powerful stories from women. And I guess for me and Carrie, it's about being able to feel that we're doing our bit in capturing people's experiences and laying it out there for people to see. And what we know is that as a result of those banners that are produced and they're displayed in hospitals all over the country, that there are conversations that are happening that wouldn't ordinarily happen with a wider audience because it draws people in. And I'm just thinking of a couple of examples of those kinds of conversations. There was one in Cornwall where the poster was displayed outside. It was a kind of head office rather than in a hospital foyer, but it meant that maternity services were able to have conversations with children's services that they'd been trying to have for many, many years. And it was only as a result of a corridor conversation that happened around the poster that meant that they were able to have some really important conversations that meant that they were able to work more collaboratively together. And then there was another one, and I think that was the Birmingham one. Jill, do you remember that? With families, young families. Young people's experience.
Coombs and the
Yeah.
Thinking Birmingham event. Yes, I can.
Yeah, and we had there was a room full packed with people, and somebody came up to us at the end and said, you know, we've had conversations sitting around the tables here that I've tried to manufacture for the last 12 months and I've not got anywhere. And today we've finally got the right people in the room and we're beginning to have conversations. But what we've managed to achieve today would have taken us over 6 months of meetings to get anywhere near where we are today in terms of the conversations that we're having with each other. So yeah, it's big, isn't it? It's big things happen as a result of the Who Shoes workshops.
And so lovely to hear those. And if people take the time and trouble to get back to us, and, you know, obviously those quotes and those testimonials really, but also the little things. And I loved Carrie's story about a woman in labour seeing one of your graphics and finding it was very good pain relief. Tell us about that one.
Cousin, yeah, that was my cousin.
Carrie.
Yeah, my cousin in a London hospital, that was. Yeah. Yeah, I've even seen Anna's in local hospitals around here when I've had to visit them. And then so I walk in and go, whoa, there's one of our posters there. That's good, isn't it?
And I've had, I think, my friend Tom Holliday, who another consultant paediatrician I was hoping would pop in today. I love Tom, and I think saw one of the posters displayed when he went with his wife to an antenatal unit. So, you know, it's quite random, isn't it? And
Yeah.
they're telling me about it. Very, very special. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to give a quick shout to Kate, who's just joined us from India. So Kate was, I think Kate was at the first ever workshop.
She was.
She was part of our MSLC as was. And she gave me a foot massage when I did the lithotomy challenge. And she then became a midwife. So it's
all
so
in the
lovely to
last
see
10
you,
years.
Kate.
Hi everyone. It's great
And
to
she
be
wrote a
here.
book. Tell us about
Oh,
your
and she
book.
wrote an amazing book called Flourish for Midwives, all about how to psychologically acknowledge the mega mountains of trauma and the rest that are in our everyday work and how to actually look after yourself. So yeah, it's so lovely to see you, Kate. I know the time
You
difference to
too.
India is a bit challenging, but thank you.
Great to be here, and just to be cast back to the 2014. I was there at the original workshop, and yeah, it was all sorts has come out of that, right? So much has just come out of that, and the spin-off conversations are vast. And thank you to you, Flo, for continuing to just push all of those things forward with fun and lightness, as well as all the weight that they deserve.
Thanks, Kate. And I think I'd like to say that first workshop, of course, now looking back, it was the first workshop of something very special. But at the time, it was just going to be, what was it, Flo? One small pilot at one trust?
Yes.
So thank you, Florence, for being my partner in crime over the years. We've come through a lot together. You haven't even waved your books, have you? Do you want to wave?
Oh no, I haven't. Hang on.
We've got various tomes.
Yes, but they're all very out of date. So these are my books.
Don't know how.
So I made this one, and I think you made that one. But I think they only go up to, so they're amazing. Just show you photo books of some of the antics and things we've got up to over the years. but I think they might only go up to 2017 or something.
The first 5 years, wasn't
Oh
it?
no, this one does seem to have a bit, yeah, because it's got the Lemon Festival, so it's 19. So yeah, the first 5 years. Yeah, so we need a new book.
There's a new one.
Need a new book. Add it to the to-do list, yeah. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, well we're finishing on time. So I mean, if people want to stay on and chat for a few minutes, that's fine. Oh, the big finale. Well remembered, Colin. The big finale. So to finish, very appropriately, I was hoping that Suzanne Remick might be on the call, who's one of our original mums who took part in the Matex rap. Let's see if we can rap at the end out.
Sammy Jane challenged us to do a rap
to tell you about Matex
and put it on the map.
Mums are here to help lend a hand,
to tell you how we feel and help you understand.
We do stuff together, we get things done.
Come and join us, Matex is fun.
So what a 10 years it has been. Huge thanks to everyone who has been and continues to be part of Matex. Let's build on that hope for maternity services and keep improving the experience of our daughters and all the women who come after them. Thank you.